Hey guys, Steve Bradshaw here again. Today we're going to do part 8, how to upgrade your IBM ACS client. So it's good to stay up to date. We get lots of new features. We've discussed that in previous ones. So what are we going to discuss today? We're going to discuss how you can do an automatic upgrade using an IBM partition, how to upgrade manually using the ACS installer. So that's just like the process of actually installing it in the first place, and how you could roll back an upgrade, God forbid that you don't want it anymore. So let's just crack on. All right, so if you've got a version of ACS loaded on your machine, for the longest time now, you've been able to do check for updates, and it tells you if there's a newer version available. So here it tells me I'm running 1186, and the version 1190 is available. Fine, and I could click the download update button there, and it would take me onto the website. We'll do that in a minute. Let me show you what I think is a better way. If you're keeping your IBM I partitions, just one of them, up to date with the latest PTFs. So in this case, Jesse is my system where all of the PTFs are absolutely up to date, and Allison is my production system where things are nice and stable. They're happening all the time. And so I don't PTF that one so often. So Jesse, I'm going to select as my system where I'm going to get my updates from, and that machine is up to date with its patches. So great. Now I say it's check for updates, and it goes off and says, hey, there is an update available. Right? And if I click install updates, it whizzes off to that IBM I partition, which is the Jesse partition, and then updates it and tells me I have updated it. Great. So it says I need to restart my partition. Sorry, my ACS client, not my partition. I do not need to restart my partition. And so I restarted. And now I do my about to say what version am I running. Hey, I'm running the latest version. Definitely my favorite, easiest, least painful. All right. What if I wanted to roll it back so that I could show you another method? Well, it really is super simple. There's basically a directory. So I selected the installation for all users, so it's in public. If I'd selected the individual option to just install it, this client for just my user, then instead of public there, it'd be my username. There is a file called acsbundle.jar. Everything you need is in there. So I'm going to just delete that one. It's in use at the moment because the client is actually active. Go figure. Delete it. And I've got an older version of it. So I basically just copied the file. And I am going to duplicate that because I want to keep my older version so that I can do this demonstration again someday. So I just make my older version, the 1.8, the jar version in question, launch it again, and I've just stepped back in time. So if I do a help and about now, I am running that older version. So what we're actually learning here is that everything we really need in order to actually do the upgrade is just changing the contents of this file to a newer version of this file. Now you do have to be careful. Some configuration changes do come along every now and again. So I do like the upgrade version. But what if you don't have a partition that's up to date and you want to just do updates that way? You can do a check for updates. Let's go back into the preferences. Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to take that back to not have a selected system. So this is now back to default again. Relaunch it so that it gets the new settings. Help about. So I'm back at 118, right? I'm going to use in the check for updates. And it tells me there is a newer version. So there's me with my 118 and there's the 19. I'm going to click the download updates. Triggers a link off to an IBM website. Worry, clicky, clicky. You will need to log in with your IBM ID. To speed things along, I have already logged in. You can update your privacy about how you want them to contact you, or if you don't want to contact you at all, you can untick all of those. Agree the terms and conditions and confirm. It takes you off to a download page, and that top item there, that's what we want to download. So it triggers the download. It's a 130 odd meg, so that takes a little while, a minute or so on a pretty fast connection to download. Just to save a bit of time, I've already downloaded it, so there it is. You get a file that is actually zipped up, so I'm going to extract it just like we did in the installation. Bum, 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 bum. So I'm uncompressing that file. Basically, I've got a directory now with the install images in there. Great. So I'm going to Windows Applications, and I'm going to stay with the same. That's my tip for you. If you've done an install for all users, update for all users. If you've done an install for an individual user, just stick with the individual user. You can convert. But I'm going to upgrade the all user one. All right, and unlike the original install, I don't get asked a million questions because you've already answered them. It remembers those and it updates it for you. And then it starts up your product. Bum, bum, bum. So the installation is finished. If you get any errors, you'll see those in a log or a text file. In this case, it's because I've got a file open, but it was complaining there to say it was in use. Great, but we'll relaunch it and you'll see just how flexible this is. Bum, 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 bum. So now check my about, and I'm at the latest version. So what did we just do? We updated the contents of this file here by, first of all, using my preferred solution, which in the preferences is to select a system. The one you keep up to date doesn't have to be the one you're using all the time. So if you've got one test partition, which you PTF regularly, use that one. Great. Once you're happy with it, you just click OK. Fine. So that's one method. The other method is to use the check for updates. And if there is an update available, it gives you a link. It really couldn't be simpler. If you want to roll it back, just preserve the contents of that file. That also, for you Windows sort of Active Directory group policy people, if you want to just push a new version of this file using a group policy or a login script, that works too. Hope you found that useful. Keep your ACS up to date. It will serve you well. Take it easy, TTFN.